I think offhand of a young man that recently was in my court. He owed thousands of dollars. He had accumulated about $10,000 in fines and costs. At the beginning of me taking the bench, he was constantly on my docket.
Judge Sarah Cap of the District Court in Franklin and Johnson counties.
And I'd found him in contempt, I'd put him in jail, and he had come before me and asked for a chance to do this program, and I told him that we were going to give him a chance, but if he blew it, he wasn't getting another one. And so he did what he was supposed to. He did the work. He participated in adult ed. He participated in counseling as well. He completed both components of that program, wiped out his fines and costs, and when he graduated the program, he was all smiles and was high-fiving everybody when he left the courtroom and was just so excited. And I believe he even shouted at me when he left the courtroom that day and said he hoped he never saw me again. So, but he was smiling and it was in jest. So we've had several stories like that where people again are just happy that they've been able to accomplish something.
This is season 2, episode 2 of the Smart Justice Podcast. Why District Court?
Crime and punishment are hot topics. Are there solutions different than what we're hearing about at a national level?
They're trying to stop that cycle so that we don't see their children, they don't see them in juvenile court, we don't see them headed to circuit court.
We give someone a traffic ticket and they're scared, they can't pay that ticket, and what do? They don't show up for court. They think it's going to go away. Well, it doesn't go away.
It's not about the court bringing in that money, it's about helping that person avoid this kind of problem in the future.
There is a different way to approach justice that has better return on investment.
The bad people need to be in jail and stay there. Folks that are suffering from just social ills, they don't need to be here.
That seems to strengthen both law enforcement and courts and tie that together with community resources.
I think that's what makes it worthwhile, that little bit of extra time you spend working on it. If you can't do a little mercy when you're here, then it's not worth being here.
And then track the impact to communities and better outcomes. And we're calling this approach Smart Justice.
Smart Justice is a work of Restore Hope and partner organizations. Restore Hope is a software and services organization that helps communities achieve better outcomes for justice and child welfare efforts. Smart Justice is focused on optimizing the system by improving the relationships among its parts.
In season 2 of Smart Justice, we're going upstream, hoping to prevent people from getting too deep into justice-related issues like incarceration and foster care. And we're looking specifically at helping people in district court. But why are these courts the off-ramp for people sinking into the justice system? Paul Chapman spoke to several judges, beginning with Judge Charles Baker from District Court in Van Buren, Arkansas.
Judge, how many people do you typically see in a year, a month or a year?
Let me break it down by week. That's an easier calculation for me. I probably will have 500 people a week on my dockets. And then, unfortunately, some of those, one court appearance doesn't resolve their issue, and so they'll come back multiple times. But we really do try to get people into our help system to provide them with some educational opportunities or some resources that they're not accessing so that they don't have to keep coming back to court. I don't want them to have to come back repeatedly.
What laws are they broken when they're coming? Have you grouped those as far as referrals out, or does it span a wide spectrum?
It's a wide spectrum.
Judge Sarah Cap.
With district court, the difference is that more people walk in the doors of a district courtroom than any other court. More so than your circuit court, more so than your appellate courts, more so than your Supreme Court. So I have more direct contact with litigants than any other court system. This is their first impression of the judiciary. And so by giving individuals this first impression that there is positive outcomes that can occur and that everyone makes a mistake and you're given the chance to right that, I think that that's making a difference.
Judges like Baker and Kemp have worked to create opportunity for people in their courts to find a positive outcome through alternatives to traditional sentencing, like jail time or fines.
We initially got together with our county adult education program and we said we want to try to find some solutions so that people can position themselves better in the future so they don't end up back in court.
Tell me about how that actually happens. So when someone comes to court, you know, a certain population that you're looking at or situation that you would allow to participate in this?
I decided that the fairest way to assess what we needed to do was every single person that appears in front of me, after I've talked to them about sentencing, I ask them, do you have the ability to pay a fine? I ask every single person, whether it's a $70 fine or whether they owe thousands of dollars in fines. I ask them. And then when they answer, sometimes I'll do a little more digging. Sometimes I'll just have people that'll say, yeah, I can pay that. And then I follow it up and I say, well, are you employed? And they say, well, no, I don't have a job, but I can come up with $200 if you'll give me a couple of weeks to do that. That's not a solution to me. It's not about the court bringing in that money. It's about helping that person avoid this kind of problem in the future. And so when they say to me, I'm unemployed, or I'm only working 20 hours a week, or I've got a wife and 4 kids at home, then I say to them, okay, I'm going to direct you to our adult education people who do our initial assessment, and then we're going to provide you with some help so that you not only can address the fine or the sentence in this case, but that we can help you prevent this in the future.
Judge Baker reached out to me before I took the bench and gave me an opportunity to come to his court and observe, and I saw the what he does, and I'm a believer in that. As far as perspective, that always impacts where people stand. In my perspective, I was a public defender for 15 years, and as a public defender, I spent my professional life representing indigent people. And from being exposed to that, I understand that there are individuals that financially that's a burden that many don't understand. And understanding how that works with the court system, I knew that that was something I wanted to be able to offer from the judiciary aspect. Our approach has been, we have, of course, legal limitations. We can't just defer something in regards to a DWI or some type of a violent offense. And now, if they need to work off their fines and costs because of that, we can refer it to the court referral program, but I won't judgment, postpone, or again, not make a finding of guilt, because that's important. A lot of these individuals, they want an opportunity to keep it off of their record, and if legally I can do that, I want to give them that chance. And so by keeping it off their record and them having the ability to walk away without owing fines and costs and completion of a program, they're getting something in return, and so that's what we've utilized.
What are the biggest needs that you're seeing, the people that are in front of you are having?
Unfortunately, I think with the court system, we've got a number of needs. First and foremost, I think you have people that don't have the ability or the means to learn, how to make the right decisions. So I think that if you provide them a roadmap of what they can do here forward and give them hope that there is light at the end of the tunnel, that makes a difference. With the needs that come in front of me financially, they just can't keep up. I mean, the fines continue to grow, and with the fines continuing to grow, if they don't feel like there's ever going to be an end, they give up. So this type of a program, again, gives them a chance that they may be able to walk away and, be straight with the court system. And so I tell them, we're even, you don't owe the court system anything else, and it's just a sigh of relief that they have.
Judge Whitney Sherm and Judge Amy Grimes reside over specialty court in Fort Smith, Arkansas. They provide options other than jail time or fines. Judge Sherm in the DWI court and Judge Grimes in the court for low risk, low need offenders called RISE Court.
You were talking about needs, high risk, high needs, low risk, low need. How do you do the assessment to determine what needs are?
First, they go through a RANT assessment.
Okay. RANT?
Yes, and once we find that they qualify under that, we can go down further paths, the person who's doing the assessment, to determine what other needs they might have.
Okay.
And to help determine not exactly the case plan, but how we need to treat that person.
It also has components that will give us, for our purposes, case plan options. And so my team can start putting together, this is what this person needs as a whole. We are fortunate that we share most of the same team. Our adult ed is on the team. Our director of adult ed is on our team, which is fabulous. She has lots of insight. We have someone, I'm preparing for someone to come onto my team from Western Arkansas Counseling and Guidance, and they're already on Judge Sherham's. We have a mental health organization here in town called Bly Thomas. And then who else? We have a prosecutor, both our state and city prosecutors.
How do you keep the case plan?
The probation officer oversees it. The
Yes.
treatment
Then they,
providers actually come up with the case
They
plan.
kind of document what the plan
Yes.
is.
And then the people on our treatment team, we have liaisons from each treatment provider
Right.
that comes in and reports.
And that's an ongoing process of sort of
Yes.
tweaking how we want that and how, you know.
Right, we've tweaked
us.
our court
Yeah,
a
that-
lot. We start out with a format, and then we say, well, this doesn't work, we're going to change this, we're going to change some of our phases. And we originally had people doing too many things at once, because in that phase one, you really want them to start just stabilizing, getting used to coming to court, and going to treatment. Those are the most important things in phase one, is to stay sober and to go to treatment and show up in court.
How often do they come to court?
And we have court twice a month, on the second and fourth Fridays of the month. They have to report in to a probation officer. They have to call in daily for drug testing.
So
It's
you're
their day
checking
to test.
status at that point?
Yes,
and
that's
seeing
correct.
if you need to
That's correct.
modify any or
That's
give
correct.
additional instruction.
And one of the things we changed early on, we had people going not only to group meetings, individual counseling, probation office meetings, checking in daily for your drug screens, and we had them doing NA as well, 2 or 3 times a week, and it was just too much in phase one, so we moved that to a different phase.
Which is provided the learning process for me to say, okay. And because my people are low risk, low needs, there'll be fewer phases. We'll have 3 phases. But we also know my folks, a lot of them have jobs, and they don't have the kind of jobs that are going to understand being gone all of the time. So we've tried to have some common sense, and they're going to come to court on the first Friday, and then there's going to be, they have to have another check-in, whether it be court or however we're going to do that second check-in. And then we're going to monitor the folks that our team says so-and-so's having a problem. We'll have our probation officer get in contact with them. So we've developed kind of a way to keep you in the program, keep you working. But our goal in the new RISE court is a 6-month window, and try to get our folks through in 6 months, back out without their charge, back in life, and have provided them everything that they say they need or want if they need assistance.
In general, the motivation in
Is
DWI
to
court
get out of
is
jail
to
time.
get out of jail time. And in RISE court, it's the potential of not having a charge.
Yes, in RISE court, it's, I'm here on a shoplifting charge, which is going to be shown as a theft of property conviction. And when somebody runs my background check to get a job as a cashier at McDonald's or at a clothing store here in town, or any type of employment, they're going to say, what's this? And the minute that person has to say, well, I did something stupid and I got a shoplifting charge, that employer is going to think, I may hesitate here. We see them that can't write a check, can't get somewhere on time, don't think, well, what difference does it make? I can't get a good job anyway because they don't have a GED or a certificate where they've got some specialized training. They think whatever, maybe I should just pay this fine and cost. But there's some, in our city court, there's some, depending on what's happened, there's restitution involved. How much did you shoplift? There's community service involved, which sometimes causes them problems at work. And so then they begin to realize, hey, wait a minute, this is going to have some, I should probably take advantage of some help because this is going to have some long-term ramifications. So those kind of things are what they begin to realize, oh, this is going to affect me. And they're a little bit hopeless because nobody's ever stopped to say, there's a different path. And a lot of folks will say, wow, I didn't know that you all had all these things that you would offer to me. We've had several, even through the Hope Court docket, that have done really well. We have a young man who we have satisfied some of his fines and costs because he completed Hope Court. He went on to get a good job. He started he was the pilot person in a program at Adult Ed, And then they ended up switching him over to get his OSHA certificate, to get that training so he can get a raise at work. And when he came to Hope Court initially, I didn't start out with him. I inherited him. But I know that the court staff was like, oh, this poor guy's not going to make it. And he did, and he's done well. And his wife, he encouraged his wife to go to adult ed, and she's now going to get further education. So he's a success story, and he'll tell you, I didn't realize that my life could change, that I could do something different than with the path I was on.
White County District Court Judge Mark Derrick has found he has new options for sentencing in his court through coordination with the 100 Family Initiatives.
I had two options. Either I could dismiss the charges, I find them guilty, I can maybe put them on probation. But the only alternative I had for some charges was just put someone on probation without sentence and put them out a year. But then they're sitting there, they've got no classes, they've got no help. All I'm doing is maybe put them on probation, no assistance, and it never worked. That never worked. You put them on probation on a drug charge. I really never did it because I didn't think that it would work. Once 100 Families came in, then they were actually able to assist probation.
I'm Jamie Zerang. I'm a White County case manager in the district courts. Technically, I work for Restore Hope under 100 Families, but I follow around Judge Derrick in the courtrooms. So I go to all of his White County courtrooms and take his referrals. What we do with 100 Families is we bring in all of our clients and do an assessment and identify their areas of need, and then make a plan to help them stabilize their family life and connect them to resources in the area that can help them, along with providers that specialize in the areas of need that they have. When you add in the alternative sentencing component, there's an aspect of it too where we're bridging the gap between them and the court system and helping them navigate the court system. Because court is a really scary place. So we kind of advocate for them in the court system and help them understand what's going on, what processes are going on, and then we report back to the judge on their progress. We'll also help them navigate probation and fines and fees and communicate with the clerks, things like that.
And all of these people, they have all of these problems and these stories. You hear where they started, a lot of them as kids, and every hole that they've stepped in along the way, or maybe not every one, but a bunch of them. And a lot of them had no education, no guidance on how to pick themselves up, to drag themselves out of a hole. I see one problem. I see a shoplifting charge. Well, yeah, we all know, or we know most of the time that a shoplifting charge isn't just a result of somebody wanting to steal something. But, there are a lot of underlying problems that need addressing.
I think that the first thing that alternative sentencing offers initially is its incentive. It's incentive for self-improvement. I have to reassure them a lot that it's possible for them to improve. They usually don't feel like they can. And knowing that at the end of the day, if they just do what we tell them to do, there's some break out there for them. That's a pretty big incentive to get them to start thinking about, well, maybe I could use a little counseling, or maybe I could use some education, or maybe, yeah, I probably do have a drug problem that I need some help with. So typically once somebody's court involved, they have driver's license issues, they're on probation with probation fees, they've got to be passing drug tests, they've probably got to go to classes, then they have their court dates, all while they're trying to put their lives back together, and it's a whole lot to keep track of. And then communicating with the court clerks and their probation officers, and kind of all of us partnering together to make sure that they fully understand what their requirements are, that they have the resources that they need to meet those requirements, to really give them a chance at turning things around. When you've got someone with substance abuse and generational poverty and no education and no family support, they are not going to become assets to society unless we can interfere on a holistic level and give them love and community support and give them resources. There's no option for them. When you're trapped under thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars worth of fines, you have a criminal record and you have a drug habit, and you're trying to keep your family afloat, what hope is there? And so of course you want to use drugs, because that's not a reality that anybody wants to live in.
Because most of these people that I see aren't happy. They're not happy. Their life is miserable. A lot of them don't know why, but they're miserable. The 100 Families gets to go through there, and they get to find all of the broken parts, and they get to find people that can fix them, that can fill in every missing spot. It's kind of like a puzzle. Well, all right, this person is this puzzle, and as you can see, you can't even see what it is because so many pieces are missing. And then they come up with people in the community and say, oh, I can put this piece in. Oh, I can put that piece in. Well, I can help you. Let me, I think we can move these around and see if this doesn't work. And then y'all get through, and you've got this beautiful puzzle all put together, and it's got a really pretty picture.
So the cool thing about district court is you are seeing a wide variety of charges and a wide variety of people. Typically you're able to interfere at a level before they get to charges that are life-changing and debilitating. They're just going to hold them back for the rest of their lives. If you can interfere at the district court level, you are creating a turnaround before they end up in prison.
I live, and I think most district court judges do, and probably not so much for circuit judges because they don't see the people so often. But I think most of the district court judges live for the good stories. And now with 100 Families, I'm getting 50 times more good stories.
One of the really cool parts of my job is seeing generational cycles of poverty and substance abuse ending. I've seen a lot of clients that they get recovery help, and then their brother sees how well they're doing, and they decide to get recovery help, and they come to us and they're like, okay, now how do we get our dad on board? And then we start working with their dad, and pretty soon the grandma is like, oh yeah, I need help as well, but now I know who to go to for help because my grandson got clean, 5 years ago in this program, and so they know who to reach out to.
It's amazing to see these people get their lives together, because that's all, I think just about all the district court judges that want. We want the people to get their act together, stay out of court, stay out of trouble, take care of their kids. That I keep telling them, you got to take care of your kids. They're a gift from God, and it's just awesome. It's awesome.
So the idea is to offer people in district court alternatives to a traditional fine or jail time. But how does that really work? And how is it working for the judges? And what are the outcomes for the community?
Why should maybe another court consider going through all the trouble that y'all have gone through and working it out and the community providers?
Because you can see the effect in the community. That's the end result that you see, is the community's different as a result of the opportunities that we're providing people. I've had some people ask me, they say, well, just generally, are you pretty easy on people? Are you pretty easygoing? And that is not me at all. I think probably statistically, I put more people in jail every year than any other district judge in the state. At least that's the way that it feels. But that's not ever my first choice. That's not what I want to do. You've got to force me to put you in jail. So I would say to judges that this is going to make your life easier. Initially, it's going to be hard, but once you get all the hurdles out of the way, it's going to make your life easier. Your court is going to be an easier process for people. There are just so many positives to it that it's certainly worthwhile.
So we're at 18 months now, and my observations have been that it's been a success. With our stats, and I'm real big with statistics, we look at monthly, where are we at with our completion rates, where are we with the different components of the program, and across the board about 50% of the people that participate in the program completed. Sometimes it's higher depending on if it's adult ed or the community service, but astoundingly, people are completing it, and we have some that come back and want to do a second phase of it, and they are really provided relief and I think a lot of gratitude. I have had people that thank me for giving them the chance. I've heard from the probation officers that people have been moved to tears behind closed doors, but given the chance to do this, and it's just not something at a district court level that's been offered previously.
Do you have any stories about how you've kind of moved someone to an alternative rather than fees, fines, jail time, and it's worked out well?
We literally do that every day. Sometimes we don't get feedback, so we don't know how it all worked out in the end. But my measure of success is that I don't see that person back in court again. My docket, one of the details that's listed on it is I see people's home address. But the vast majority of our people are local folks, and so if they get in trouble again, I'm the only district judge. I'll be the guy they're in front of the second time. And so it's a success to me that we don't see them again. That's my measure of success.
The way you all do your courts by choice seems like it takes a lot more time and effort. What would you estimate, as extra time?
DWI court takes longer probably as extra time than RISE, I would think.
It does.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't give it up. When we had originally taken the bench, we were going to switch off. And I would do a year or 6 months, and then she would come on. I can't imagine giving up my DWI court right now. I spend a lot of time praying about these people, worrying about these people. It's different than my regular docket because you see them on this journey, and you want them to get to the graduation. So I see them, they're invested in their sobriety, they're trying to better their lives, and I get emotionally involved. I mean, I have to I sanction people when they need to be sanctioned. If they fail the program, they're sentenced. But I want everybody to succeed. And so I spend a lot of time, I check in with the probation officer, the treatment team. We email constantly about the status of people. If they mess up, we want to take care of it quickly so that they can still make it through the program.
Why?
There is a particular, it's just, when I see somebody buy into the program, when they first get here, they usually look, their pallor's gray, they're unhealthy. But about a month or two into the program, once they start getting those sober days, you can see a change. And once somebody buys into the program, it's, I've told a lot of people, it's just been my pleasure to see you get where you are right now. They're doing all the hard work. We're there to guide them, the treatment team. I'm there to help, but they're doing that hard work, and they see how their lives change, and it's just such a pleasure to get to do that. It's the best part of my job.
Some cynics may say that you're spending a lot of time to help folks that, are guilty of some crimes, and maybe we should just ratchet up some punishment and that would fix it. But clearly you don't think that.
We can always fill up the jails. I was a public defender for 26 years. I did juvenile court for 26 years. And I guess that's where my passion about alternative courts comes in, because I come from a perspective where I saw that a lot of the problems that people have come from trauma and things that happen in their family. It's a cycle. We see it over and over again. I had been a public defender for so long that I was seeing second and third generations by the time I left. And so if you can stop that, that's what we need to do. We don't need to be filling jails. And there are people that belong in jail. And I put people in jail all the time. But if we can change people's lives and make them citizens, I have a lady right now, we were not going to allow her in DWI court because we thought she had cognitive issues. We thought we were setting her up to fail. She could not possibly get through the program. She couldn't even find the courthouse. She'd been here 2 or 3 times and she couldn't get to the courthouse. So we had her evaluated in depth. They said, well, she can do it, so we put her in. What we found out was that she didn't have cognitive issues. She'd been drinking every single day. And she was causing herself, it seemed like brain damage is what it seemed like. She wound up, she couldn't get sober on her own, so we sent her to inpatient treatment. And she just soared from there. She decided that she wanted to live, but now she just graduated on September 9th, and she's doing very well. I was worried about her because her mother got sick and she did pass away, but we were worried that this person was going to regress because of that emotional trauma and stress. But she maintained her sobriety. She stepped up. She did more than she was supposed to do in the program. She was guarding that sobriety. And she told us that she was so glad that for the last year of her mother's life, she was sober and got to spend quality time with her mother. She's now out in the community. She works with the Community Rescue Mission. She's on several boards here in the community. So she's giving back. This is a ripple effect. People can repair relationships with their family, with their friends. I have another lady who graduated in the past 3 months, and she has a relative who has issues with drugs and alcohol, and she's helping her. It helps our community.
Thanks for joining us for this look at the courts and alternative options to traditional sentencing. In the next episode of Smart Justice, we will flip the script to hear how the process works for the people coming to court. Be sure to join us.
Thanks to our guests, Judge Charles Baker, Judge Sarah Kapp, Judge Wendy Sherm, Judge Amy Grimes, Jamie Zerang, and Judge Mark Derrick. Special thanks to Arkansas Churches for Life for sponsoring. Musical credits include The Simple Truth by Dr. Delight, Tangles by Aaron Sprinkle, In Love by Moments, Sigh of Relief by Moments. Music is licensed through Soundstripe.com. Smart Justice is a work of Restore Hope. Please consider helping us produce more work like this by becoming a sponsor at www.smartjustice.org.